Welcome back to my CryptoQ Media channel. It's great to have you back. If you think the markets are incredibly upbeat right now, you're completely ignorant. A recession almost invariably follows a rate cut by the Fed, and I'll give you irrefutable evidence of that today. If you've been listening to a lot of nonsense lately, I implore you to disregard it because I'm about to show you some pretty incontestable evidence in today's video that says the contrary is very likely based on a number of historical events. Owning Bitcoin, XRP, or Ethereum is thus irrelevant. Watching what I'm about to show you today is highly recommended. Please hit that like button. This has been shown to everyone, so we may start the video immediately. To start, I'd want to show you the inverted yield curve percentage, which is falling the most sharply before 2020, from 92% to 67%. I understand. Next up, we have the 2020 crash. For the most part, you presumably already know this. In 2007, at or around the time of COVID-19, there was one of the worst market crashes in history. Throughout the current economic slump, this was a phenomenon during the dot-com boom in the year 2000. Using the same yield curve, the present scenario is reminiscent to the tech bust, the previous three major housing bubbles, and the COVID-19 recessions. Here is an image I've included. Please review it. It appears that these are the fields used for calculations. Shown at the bottom is the COVID-19 recession. There has been a housing bust and a tech bust. Every single one of these will be clearly visible to you, including the SNL crisis, the double-dip recession of the 1980s and 1978, and of course the inflationary collapse of 1973, something I'm willing to wager that none of you is familiar with. However, it remained a double top. Surely you'll agree that this is quite similar. We were standing at an unprecedented price point in history, a tremendous pinnacle. Then there was the recent dramatic reduction in interest rates, which partially popped this bubble. Those of us who are well versed in the past will recall the COVID-19 recession, thus it is imperative that we pay great attention to this. What happened after that? Everything about it was extraordinary. Those of you who lived through the 2007 to 2008 housing market collapse will never forget this. Market circumstances were just awful. What I'm attempting to demonstrate is that, indeed, it's highly likely that we will come across this issue again. It is my deepest wish that you all avoid falling into such a trap. We don't know when it will happen, but I imagine many will be taken aback when it does because, well, no one seems to be discussing these events. To start, I have a chart that shows the investment securities unrealized losses for banks in the second quarter of 2024. You should probably pay attention if you've never seen a yield curve inversion before. Compared to the financial housing crisis of 2007 and 2008, this is really catastrophic. When seen in this light, it seems rather little. We are now talking about 512. Think about just the last 2 years, it hit $9 billion in the second quarter of 2024 by alone. It is astonishing how much destruction has happened in such a short period of time. It is hardly surprising that the Federal Reserve has been printing money at an unprecedented rate at this time. As interest rates continue to exert pressure on the economy, unrealized losses comprise 20% of Bank of America's $110.08 billion held-to-maturity securities in Q2 of 2024, the 11th consecutive quarter of such losses. Presently, the bank ranks as the second biggest in the United States. Meanwhile, don't fool yourself into thinking we're safe. In the first quarter of 2024, 66 institutions were added to the FDIC trouble bank list. Also, this level of unrealized losses has never been seen before. I mean, it's just worthless. As an example, consider the change from 2006 to 2008. Yeah, that awful economic slump. So that's the gist of it? That is the current state of affairs. The sheer size of these numbers is beyond your comprehension. In view of these unrealized losses, many are asking what has to happen so that we can also avoid a recession. I am going to show you something that I believe a lot of you will find shocking. So, instead of a recession, we need to talk about a smooth landing. Whenever the Federal Reserve has reduced interest rates by over 200 basis points in a single calendar year, this has historically occurred. The fact that the recession rate has been over 75% from 2024 September to 2025 September, a time frame that is completely within the Fed's plan, must not be ignored. If a recession is greater than 75% likely, then a very large correction is probable. As an added bonus, the complete picture emerges when you add together the unrealized losses from the previous recessions with those from the dot-com bubble, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the financial crisis of 2007 to 2008. On the surface, it appears to be a strong case. Therefore, we need to get into it right now. To be crystal clear, I think we will most certainly have the 200 basis points I was referring to by June of 2025, and the market presently prices in a 50% chance of a US recession by that time. Within the last 30 days, this percentage has multiplied by 2. It was only 10% more than in July. Because none saw this coming even a few months ago, it has caught everyone off guard. Market forecasts also indicate that the Federal Reserve could cut rates by 200 basis points in the next 8 months, with a 50% probability of this happening. On the other hand, wouldn't you agree that the Federal Reserve is expecting interest rates to drop by 150 basis points by the end of the year, therefore, around 150 or 200 basis points? To be honest, it's not easy to say, is it, the scope of the measures that the Federal Reserve will take. The Federal Reserve has expressed this as the anticipated result. Nevertheless, past experiences have demonstrated that the Federal Reserve's predictions do not necessarily come to fruition. As you can see, the market is currently pricing in a recession. This comes after a 50 basis point cut in interest rates on Wednesday, which was the most unexpected development for markets since 2008, of course. We truly value having you here today. For the time being, I ask that you subscribe and favorite my channel.